didn't start out to do books, started out to do articles, magazine work. We've always done nonfiction, though. And again, I think true stories are just more exciting and more unusual and more amazing. We decided that after writing for a Christian magazine for many years, we should look into our own faith, which we didn't have. We visited many churches, were friendly, wonderful people, inviting us to join them for dinners and lunches and potluck suppers. And we had friends. We were looking for God. We wanted a place that would just leave us to encounter Him if He existed. And sure enough, we got to a church and they left us strictly alone. Nobody spoke to us. Nobody invited us over for dinner. We were left strictly alone to make our relationship with God. Sometimes the way you know you have a book on your hands is if you do an article, and there's just more there. I remember with David Wilkerson when we first met him, we like to find out if the person is a reliable reporter of his own life. And at this time he was working in Brooklyn. He was just beginning his ministry. And he said there were 300 people had gathered on a street corner to hear him. We thought, 300 people on a street corner. 300 people won't fit on a street corner. The police would know about that. And sure enough, they said, yes, there were about 500 people. We had to send 2 policemen. So he had underplayed it. He was underplaying the facts, and that impressed us so much that we said, yeah, we can go with this man. Hardest thing about working with Corrie, well, the hardest thing was to get her to talking about the difficult parts, the painful parts, the concentration camps, the cruelty. She didn't want to dwell on those things. She wanted to dwell on the goodness of God and the power of God. Profound and dedicated Christians, they want to glorify God. They want to tell His greatness. As a writer, we got to go where people are, which is where we're hurting, where we're needy, where things are not going well, and where there isn't any joy. When she talked in this country, she kept her talks very simple and straightforward and humorous. But I was with her when she spoke at churches and in prisons. That was her favorite place to speak because she had instant rapport, of course, with the prisoners since she'd been a prisoner. Scheveningen, which is the prison where she'd been before she was taken to the concentration camp, that's the maximum security prison in Holland. And she had those men pinned to the back of their chairs. She was literally shaking her finger, and I don't know what she was saying to them, but she was filling them with the fear of God. We went flying to our church, the church we'd been going to for a few months, and asked the rector there if he would pray for us. He had a lot of wise things to say about healing. And John said, no, I mean a prayer for me to be healed. And he said, now let's see. He said, now it says here, I put my hand on your head. So he took out the book and he put his hand on John's head. John felt an electric volt, an electric shock shoot down his neck, shoot down all down his side. The priest took his hand away and as though it had been burned. All of us were stunned. Nobody spoke. When the surgeon went in to do the surgery, where the lump had been, he just found a little dried up raisin, like something had been burned. And that was the last that John never had cancer. So a miracle out of the blue for basic non-believers. We were going into Prague and had met a man in Vienna, a Czech pastor who'd had to flee Czechoslovakia. He was so thrilled to know that we were going to go in and could we visit his family. When we got to Prague, first place we had to park our car a long way from where the apartment was, because it wasn't dangerous for us, but it would be very dangerous for a family to have a car with foreign license plates come and park in front of them. And we got to the apartment building, and again we went up and rang the bell, and if they hadn't been home, we could not have left a note. First place, we didn't speak Czech, and she didn't speak English. Luckily, she was there. The wife was there. She and I just had a wonderful visit about the children, and I told her about her husband, how he'd struck, what kind of mood he was in, and that he looked well, and we just chatted away. As we were leaving, John said to me, "What were you talking about?" And I said, "Well, you were there, you heard it." And he said, "Well, I heard a lot of excited chatter. It sounded like German." Well, I don't speak German. Somehow or other, she and I had understood each other. Every word. We chatted away for probably 45 minutes. And it was a gift for her to be able, I'm sure, to be able to exchange small things, which we were then able to relay to her husband when we got back to Vienna. But it was a gift to me too, and to John and me, to see a gift of the Spirit alive and active today. My hardest writing assignment certainly has been writing about myself. Writing feels to me like facing a shapeless mass of marble. Michelangelo is that some little boy watched him for days and days and weeks, and he finally burst out and said, "How did you know there was a horse in there?" The writer knows there's a horse in there, and you just take away all the things that aren't a horse. When you're dealing with your own story, your mass of marble is enormous. Nowadays, there's so many other forms of communication, and it's all crucial. As we understand each other and as we can connect, imaginatively live into each other's experiences, that's the hope of the world, that we can learn to open ourselves to other people's realities.